Hey there, welcome to the 412 Canada podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name's Kim Hutchins, and at 412, we're equipping the church for greater influence through serving. 412 is a ministry of Faith Baptist Church in Huntsville, Ontario. We are so excited to be able to continue to equip you through our podcast and YouTube. And today, I'm excited to have my friend Claire Odogbo back on the show. Claire lives in Ontario, Canada with her husband and 3 adorable girls who are actively growing in their musicality and relationship with the Lord. Claire loves to spend time singing to the Lord on the piano or guitar and leading people into His presence in the corporate context. She is currently an active member of a worship writing community and is a worship leader and member of the Compass Point Bible Church's worship arts team. When she isn't doing all things musical, Claire is busy writing, consulting, and coaching large global corporations and senior executives. And in this episode, we're going to talk about serving from a place of rest and her inspiration for her song and book, Angels All Around Me. Let's get started. Welcome again. I am so excited to have you back on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This is great. I thought it'd be so much fun this time to do a little chat about what's something fun that you like to do with others.
All right. Well, I'm a brainstormer by nature, and anytime I'm brainstorming, I'm in my happy place, right? Whether it's at work, or it's over a new song, or more recently, I get together with my friend who is an author of fiction, romance, and we're sitting down and brainstorming her plots and like, okay, so how do we make the story end well, and what do we do? And that's just such fun for me, right?
Yeah, it's so unique, right? Something different. I like it.
Exactly, totally, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you on today, and we're going to talk a little bit about your song, Angels All Around Me.
Oh, yeah.
Which, from the beginning, when you thought of the song, you also wanted to do a book. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, totally. So I'm sure you've totally figured out that I'm a woman of many hats.
Yes, so I am learning. Oh, my goodness.
Well, so my fun thing is to bring as many hats as possible together, right? Another fun fact about me is that my dad was a playwright, right?
Wow.
So there's story writing and fiction, right, in my bones. I grew up attending his dance dramas, and it used to be all music and production and theater. And I remember feeling goosebumps at like 7 years old when they're acting this plays, and he wrote the songs to it too and everything himself.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
yes. So the idea of combining story and song is not necessarily original, but I wanted to apply it in a new way. So when the idea for that song came, I thought at the point in time that it would be pretty neat to make it a song story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
something different.
Exactly.
Right?
And I remember I always take my half or a third finished song to my co-writes, and I'm like, hey, here's the idea I'm thinking about, and I think I'm gonna make it a song story. And I remember the lady just looking at me, like giving me the look, and like, okay. And I'm like, I'm really gonna do it this time around. I want to make it a book and a song. And she's like, well, it'd be a good idea. And so I started on the idea, and it's been a journey, but it's so worth it. I'm sure when people actually get the book and see the visuals, it's so pretty, if I say so myself. The visuals, right, and then the song will make even more sense. So
yeah, and now this book is just released, but the song's been out for a little bit now. So what stories have you heard from that? Like what has surprised you about people's reactions?
You know, it's interesting because when I released the song. So the song originally started as a lullaby, and you will find the lullaby now available with the book.
Okay,
so,
that's great.
Yes, exactly. So you can access the lullaby on my Spotify channel.
Okay, and we'll put a link in our show notes for sure.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And thank you for that. So it started off as a lullaby, and I was like, oh my goodness, releasing a lullaby and hoping adults will sing to it. Now that's interesting.
You know, it's not impossible.
So I was with my very intelligent producer, young man, and I was telling him about this, like, okay, so we're a bit of a conundrum right now, as in, we have this lullaby song and we want to release it. So what do we do, right?
Yeah.
And so we started brainstorming. Cue in brainstorm. and then we started singing, you know, and singing in different ways until we hit on this kind of a little bit of a reggae, pop reggae version. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's release the adult version of the song and sing it in that format, right? But at the end of the day, the song originated as a kid's song, really, because when we were thinking about lyrics, we were intentional that we wanted a song that children can sing that is memorable. There are angels around me, and they are keeping me safe. Even when we're writing the verses, we're like, we want it to be memorable. And I also remember growing up as a child, right? And I learned my Bible verses because of praise, Maranatha
Songs,
praise.
Right? Yes.
You know, this used to sing scripture, be steadfast, be immovable, you know, and all of those songs that were sung. And that's how I learned the Bible as a young Christian. So I said I wanted to keep that tradition going also for my kids and kids out there. And so we lifted Psalm 91, the first two verses, you who sit down in the high God's presence, spend the night in Shaddai's shadow. And we sang it again so that it sticks.
So you have it forever.
Exactly. You can't forget, right?
Yeah.
So that was the intention behind the book and the song. I don't know if I answered the question.
Oh, yeah, no, I think so. That's great, right?
Cool.
Well, and I guess any stories, like, was there anybody that's come up to you and like, wow, your song impacted me?
Yes, absolutely. So even though it started out as a kid's song, adults have come to me and said, you know what, that song was just what I needed in that season.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the feedback I've heard. So it's from adults more that I've heard feedback from. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Hopefully the target audience will read the book too and get the benefits out of it. But that just goes to show that scripture is for everyone, right? Whether or not it originated as a kid's song or not. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. I love it. I think when I heard it, I found the lyrics do stick with you, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And they just come back to you. And so I was like, wow. And I remember needing to tell you, as soon as I met you in person, we had already been friends online, but to see you in person, she's like, wow, you know what? That song impacted me, and I love that the lyrics stuck in my head for times that I needed them. So,
well, thank you for that. I needed that encouragement when you told me that day, because many times I just put out the songs in obedience to God, as we spoke about the last time about living for His glory, you know, and just saying yes and doing it, and you don't know, you put it out there and like, okay, forget. So when I do hear feedback, it warms my heart and know that, okay, people actually listen to this and it impacts them.
That's so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and so today I want to also talk to you about serving from a place of rest, because we had talked about that, right? And you had mentioned we had even talked about, what does that look like if I'm serving from a place of rest? What do you think?
Right. I think in summary, it is serving from an overflow, right? Because I'm sure all those who serve in church week in, week out, year in, year out can attest to the fact that you do burn out, right? And sometimes, especially those in leadership and ministry, you're so focused on the next meeting, you know, and putting it together that you forget that you yourself needs to be refreshed for that, right? You need to take care of your own soul, right? So for me, that looks like spending time with God, having your private devotion. Gary Thomas writes in the book Secret Pathways, about 9 different secret pathways for people. I mean, you have your own jam, right?
Yeah.
You know how you get into that zone with God. And I think I was so happy reading that book and hearing about the idea of that book, because I've always had that same mindset that no two people are the same, right? And so when you start talking about intimacy with God, when you read about some people's experiences, it feels so far-fetched, because you know that is not your experience.
No, it's so different.
It's so different, right? And so you do you in the sense what God has shaped you to be, and shaped that relationship between himself and you to look like, right?
Yes.
Pursue that, lean into it, know. And from that place of intimacy with the Lord, give, right? And there comes the joy in doing it, because when it's just the work, well, we all know how we really think about work after a while. Like, I just need a break. I'm done here, you know, so that there's joy in the process of serving the Lord.
And what does rest look like in your life? Right? When you're like, you know what, I need to rest so that I can be fruitful, right? So what do you do when you get to that place?
I go and sit on my piano, at my piano, or with my keys, right, or with my guitar, and I just start singing and singing and singing to the Lord, or when I feel like I'm approaching burnout, you'll find me somewhere in the corner in my home, face down, just
we were talking about that. You prefer the quiet room, right?
Yes, the dark, quiet room, that is. And I just turn out the lights, and I'm face down, and like, I just need you, Lord. And I always say to people, I need you is a very valid prayer. Help me. And because it's very easy, especially if you're in the public eye, to lose perspective very quickly, because it now becomes about whether it is quality, you're delivering a quality product. Now the idea of products, right? When it's supposed to be in service to God, seems like far-fetched, right? But then you get into that zone, like, for example, after releasing a song, oh gosh, I think myself and my other songwriters and singers, we always talk about it, about the butterflies in your tummy, and how I lose appetite for the week, because it is no longer about the joy of being obedient and putting it out. It's like, oh, what are people saying? And all of it can easily become about the appearance of things rather than the joy. And that is where I realized that, oh, okay, I'm realizing the pattern here. So you'll find me release week worshiping more and face down in a corner, so that I retain my focus that it's about him and not about me and my failings and imperfections, right?
Yeah, and then after you've taken that time to rest in him, what is one area that you love to serve in?
Oh, worship.
I figured that was the answer, but it couldn't hurt to ask. I might be surprised.
Worship, but again, I always talk about service in a wider context, because I always want to see people serving, because the Ephesians 4:12 gifting is within the church, but equipping God's saints for works of ministry, and the works of ministry is within and outside, you know. So for me, if you ask me how I'm serving the Lord in my life right now, I can reel off a number of areas, because it is very much service to the Lord on my job as a team lead, you know, and serving God in that capacity, serving God in with my skill set as a consultant to that organization, right? Serving God as a coach to my clients, you know, and I see God at work in those areas, you know.
That's awesome.
And so I'm doing all of these as an act of service to the Lord and as an act of worship, and they are as real to me as when I'm on band on Sunday singing, you know.
Yeah, that is so good, right? Because we can serve him all the time and in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And what's something you would say to encourage those that are serving, whether it's in church or out in the community, but, what would you say to encourage them right now?
Right. Take care of your soul, feed your soul, on the plane, they always give the flight demonstrations, right?
Yeah.
You put on the mask. And then, so remember to put on that mask like daily, as in we live in a chaotic world, and it's so easy for it to wear you out, right? And erode your joy slowly but surely, right?
Yeah.
So we need to serve from that place of overflow, even as moms to our families and wives, parenting. Oh my, parenting in the 21st century, right?
Yes.
But for all of those things, we need Him. We need Jesus. So just spending time and remembering to be intentional again. In your own way. Intentionality looks different for both of us, right?
Yes.
For somebody, it's 3 hours praying, and for somebody else, it's 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So there is no time line to it, Just do it.
Yes.
Make space and serve from that place of fullness is what I'll encourage people to do.
That's so good. I love it.
Thank
Claire,
you.
thank you so much for coming up and being here
Oh,
so that
thank
you can share about all that's happening.
Thank you.
For those joining us today, I hope that you're ready to check out Claire's book. Check out our show notes for a link to purchase her book and all that is available. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, remember to subscribe on your podcast app. And for those watching the video edition, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss an episode. Also, hop onto the discussion by following us on social media. You can find us on Instagram at 412 Canada. Looking forward to next time. Thanks for joining us.